I was handing y'all your boy Rico from Street Scores. I know it's late, but I really wanted to make sure I watched a lot of highlights and did as much research as I could while I constructed this mock draft. So I'm excited to do my first mock draft of the season. I believe I didn't do one already, did I? Nah, this is the first one. This is the first one of the 2022 regular season going into the 2023 draft. Really excited, man. Of course, we do not have a third round pick. We're just assuming that pick's going to go to the Colts in that Carson Wentz trade instead of the second, because I don't think Carson Wentz is going to play again this season. And even if he does, it's too late. He won't reach the 70% of snaps threshold anyway. So I think we're in the clear there. So we have a round 1, 18th overall pick if the draft would have happened today. A round 2, 49th pick. A round 4, 97th. A round 4, 119th. A round 5, 153rd. A round 7, 193rd. A round 7, 214th. And a round 7, 235th. So we do not have a 6th round pick or a 3rd round pick, but we have 3 7s, and we may get like a 3rd round compensatory pick for Brandon Scherff. So maybe we will end up having a compensatory pick going into this draft. We'll see. Hopefully Tim Settle affects that in some way as well. I know the signing of Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner don't affect it negatively for us. So hopefully Brandon Scherff and Tim Settle result in a 3rd round pick, maybe even a 7th round compensatory pick for Tim Settle. We'll see though. But for now, we're just gonna worry about the ones that we know that we have officially today. And y'all already know, man, we're gonna go through this draft. I'm gonna talk about our team needs, and it's gonna scream our team needs just based off the players that I'm drafting in order. Now, of course, I'm also gonna do a lot of mock drafts throughout this season, throughout the off season especially, but this is the first way too early mock draft. Again, there's a lot of football to be played. There's football left for even these college players, let alone us. I mean, who knows if a player steps up out of nowhere and we no longer have a team need, or if a player gets severely hurt or regresses and then a new team need arises by the time the draft process starts. Maybe we lose somebody to free agency. Maybe we add somebody in free agency before the draft comes up. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and late April. So just stick with me, man. I didn't want to do a mock draft too early, because a lot of people see it as me giving up, but y'all know me, man. I'm heavy on draft stuff. I love draft. I love college football. I'm a big Georgia Bulldog fan, but now for the past couple of weeks, I've actually been starting to watch everybody and starting to watch some film on certain guys, and I watched a lot of anything I could get my hands on, even if it was just highlights on some of these guys that have us taking in these final rounds. Of course, this is a 7-round mock draft, full mock draft. We're going all the way from round 1 through round 7, those final 3 picks. With these mock drafts, especially these early ones, it's more so me trying to put y'all on to certain players, certain sleepers, like watch out for this guy. He might be something and we may want to look at him in the draft. So it's not the most realistic draft. Somebody that I have us taking in the 4th round may not be there by the time we draft in the 4th round. Y'all know my most realistic draft is the one right before the draft, like the week of. Like the draft starts on Thursday and I put out a mock draft like Monday or Tuesday where I'm doing my best to guess and predict what we're gonna do. But all the way up to that point, I'm just out here picking my favorite players at positions and needs that we have, and I'm also trying to put y'all on to some players that you may not have heard of. So definitely make sure you pull up to every mock draft. But long intro, I'm sorry. I'm just really excited. Y'all know I'm really heavy into the draft, so I can't wait to talk about this stuff more. And I just felt like, man, I waited till December to do my first mock draft. I feel like I waited long enough, and y'all can expect a lot more coming soon. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every game day for every Commanders live stream. I do a live play-by-play breakdown of everything going on during the games, after the games, all of that. Of course, we have a bye week this upcoming week, but make sure you pull up for the Giants rematch Sunday night flex to 8:20 p.m. next Sunday. And of course, make sure you pull up even in the postseason. I'll be live streaming because I'm speaking it into existence. We're making the playoffs. So, man, make sure y'all pull up every time, every week. Let's get it. All right, again, there's so much tape left to be watched by me. There's still some football left to be played by these players, so I'm not going to dive as far in depth as I normally do with my mock drafts, like super duper weaknesses and strengths. I more so want to take a look at this from the angle of we have this big need, and if we were to just add this player right now to our current team with us trying to make the playoffs, I think it would benefit us for these reasons. I'm going to talk about weaknesses and strengths a little bit, but for the most part, I'm talking about team fit and why we need this guy. So starting with round 1, cornerback Joey Porter out of Penn State. Of course, I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, diehard, but I'm also very objective and analytical. I'm logical. So I love Kelee Ringo. I do. And if both him and Joey Porter were available at the 18th overall pick, it would be a tough decision, but I may go Joey Porter because I love Kelee Ringo. If we're talking about physical attributes and traits and length, size, speed, athleticism, quickness, he's literally the guy you would build in a lab. I mean, the only guy even comparable to him, I think, in the past couple of years is maybe Sauce Gardner as far as having length, explosion speeds, all of that type of stuff. Kelee Ringo is probably even more athletic than him. I mean, the best way to put it, Kelee Ringo is literally Jalen Ramsey in every way, but I believe like an inch taller, longer arms, and faster. That's how freakishly athletic Kelee Ringo is. At his best, he can literally pretty much lock down anybody you need in the league. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, anybody. But he's just too dramatically inconsistent. And I'm just worried about that for my Commanders, especially with us looking like that we're playoff contenders. And I feel like we're a quarterback away from being Super Bowl contenders, a really good quarterback away. Basically a quarterback better than who we currently have on roster right now, away from being a Super Bowl contender. So I don't want to draft projects this high, even though Kelee Ringo has the highest ceiling of any corner, any DB period in this draft, and arguably the past few drafts in the NFL. I mean, his ceiling is that ridiculous, but at the same time, the inconsistencies, the raw, I just prefer to go with the safer Joey Porter, who has just gotten better and better every season. I mean, his freshman year, I don't even believe he played much. His sophomore year, he was all right. His junior year last year, he was good. But this senior year, it's a completely different guy from any of his previous tapes. Don't even watch previous seasons of his Penn State tape. Just watch this season only, and then just project that at the next level. And basically, I mean, he's probably the longest cornerback in this class. Kelee Ringo's up there with him, maybe a couple of guys. So I just feel like he's great because he can cover the Mike Evans and the CeeDee Lambs of the world. But then also, he's very quick, fluid feet, great hips, all of that change of directions. He's very smooth. So he can also cover the Devonta Smiths, the Michael Gallups, and the Darius Slaytons. You know, I'm trying to put this into perspective who we have to play at least twice a year. And I just threw Mike Evans in there because he's like the prototypical huge wide receiver that's a great contested catch guy. I mean, D-Hop is a great contested catch guy, but D-Hop's actually way smaller than what people think height-wise. He just plays bigger than his size. But like Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and then again, as far as our division goes, CeeDee Lamb with the height, and then he also has the fluidity to cover like a Devonta Smith, Michael Gallup, and a Darius Slayton. He's basically ultimately Benjamin St-Juste, but quicker and better change of direction, literally. And we see that Benjamin St-Juste basically looks like a cornerback one out there, and Joey Porter I feel like is going to be even better. I mean, granted, Benjamin St-Juste was drafted in the 3rd round, and even though he's surpassed those expectations and he's playing better than his draft pick with State, Joey Porter is a certified 1st round pick, and I honestly would be surprised if he made it out of the top 15. You may have to trade up slightly to get him, but I mean, like I was screaming for us to trade up for Micah Parsons, Penn State alum, you may have to do that with Joey Porter. And I also think that it's really interesting that back to back I wanted Micah Parsons in the 1st round, and then the next season we got Jahan Dotson from Penn State, and now I want Joey Porter from Penn State. They're doing something right over there, y'all. I'm telling y'all. I'm not as high on Joey Porter as I was on Micah Parsons, but I still really like Joey Porter. He's really versatile. He can play press man, he can play zone coverage. I feel like off man is probably where he's at his least effective, but he's still really good at it. But I just think press man and zone coverage he eats. And you know, Jack DeReal wants his corners to do everything. Play press man, play zone coverage, off man. That was the problem with William Jackson. He's a really good press man corner, and that's literally about it. He wasn't versatile enough. We had to pretty much hide him on defense if we wanted to run any zone. In opposing offenses started the game plan for that and attack him in zone coverage and things like that. Joey Porter, no matter what defense you want to run, match coverage, whatever. Once he gets his NFL legs under him and mentally catches up to the NFL speed, it's over with. Potential lockdown corner, man, I'm telling you. And then on top of all of that, he has great ball skills to force turnovers, which is something, as much as I love Benjamin St-Juste, it seems like he's allergic to. Every time he seems to get a turnover, it gets called back for something, and it's usually his fault why it happened. But he has been able to cause turnovers for other players to get, but Danny Johnson and Derek Forrest, but he hasn't been able to get turnovers himself. Joey Porter takes that and takes it to another level. And Joey Porter, I mean, you can look at his stats, but it got to a certain point where quarterbacks just stopped throwing it his way. So he's one of those guys you can't even look at his stats, you got to look at the tape. But I love his his attitude. I love his confidence. He's an alpha male. He's the type of guy that literally wants to cover the best receiver on the opposing team every game. And just imagine it. I feel like Benjamin St-Juste is a CB1. But if Joey Porter is your CB1A and Benjamin St-Juste is your CB1B, that's a crazy cornerback group. And I love Kendall Fuller. We'll see if we end up keeping him. I think we probably will, especially with the way he's been playing these last few weeks. But he is eating up $10 million per year, a little over that. But maybe you keep him because you're going to get $28 million when Carson Wentz leaves. So that's still enough money to pay Daron Payne, maybe a couple of these other guys like Cole Holcomb and Cameron Crowe in the future, Montez Sweat later on, all of that type of stuff. We'll see. But if you wanted to save some money, you could cut Kendall Fuller and draft Joey Porter. But I think even if Kendall Fuller stays, and I like the idea of Kendall Fuller staying again because with how well he's played the last few weeks, I think Kendall Fuller, Joey Porter, and Benjamin St-Juste is a crazy cornerback group. But also, with Benjamin St-Juste hurt right now, and he was hurt most of last year's rookie season, you kind of have to have a guy that's ready to step up and cover the opposing team's best corners. Joey Porter is literally that. Again, I love Benjamin St-Juste, but I feel like Joey Porter is literally just a better version of Benjamin St-Juste. So if you have an injury to Benjamin St-Juste, Joey Porter is ready to cover the number one corner, and Kendall Fuller is your cornerback too again, rather than pretty much your only reliable corner on the field as of right now until Benjamin St-Juste gets back healthy, man. This bye week couldn't have come at a better time, man. Then round 2, 49th overall, I have us taking quarterback Anthony Richardson from Florida. I mean, and simply put, let's just go ahead and get it out the way. Love Taylor Heineke, love everything he's done for us, but he should not be the quarterback of the future. When you look at the roster right now, you can argue maybe Carson Wentz with this arm, with this new run-heavy attack that we're doing, it would be nice to see how Carson Wentz can run the offense, but we've seen that Taylor Heineke can run the offense fairly well, but not very well, not well enough for me to be confident going into this playoff run. We need a franchise quarterback. Again, this year, just talking about this playoff push, Taylor Heineke, you could argue, gives us our best chance to win right now, even though we've been winning in spite of him for a couple of games. But I know for a fact, Anthony Richardson, if he's available in the second round, you take him. Even if you got to trade up towards the end of the first, I'm doing it. If he's there available, just like how the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, trading up to the final pick of the first round to get that 5-year contract situation, the rookie option, do that, please. But as of right now, just for mock draft purposes, I'm screaming draft Anthony Richardson right now. I love Sam Howell, but at the end of the day, he's only a 5th round pick, so you could draft Anthony Richardson in the second and let them duke it out. I'm perfectly fine with that. You're more than likely going to cut Carson Wentz to save that $28 million so you can pay Daron Payne and other guys, and so maybe Taylor Heineke's your week 1 starting quarterback, but you're grooming Anthony Richardson to take over very soon. I mean, you saw how the Bills, Josh Allen was terrible his rookie season, but he just kept working, and then look who he became after that. He still has his fair share of problems like we've seen this season sometimes, especially while he's been banged up, but if you build the right offense around him and coach him up the right way, and you're patient with him, Anthony Richardson could literally be like a Josh Allen or a Cam Newton as far as tools, as far as comps. It's very unlikely because, you know, Josh Allen's just don't come often. Cam Newton's don't come often. But if there were a guy that you can compare to those guys that could potentially become one of those guys, it's Anthony Richardson. If Caleb Williams is like a slightly thicker Pat Mahomes, Anthony Richardson is literally like a Josh Allen, Cam Newton clone. He's easily the highest ceiling QB of this class, easily. And going back to the team, with the defense carrying this team right now, because the defense is straight up carrying this team. They're the main reason, the vast majority of the reason why we're winning these games. The offense has not played well enough to go 6-1-1 these past 8 games. It's been straight up the defense. And then along with the fact that we run the ball around 40 times a game over the last 5 games, I think Anthony Richardson could start sooner than people think, and we could actually win games with him early on. All you got to go out there and do is just be alright. Make the occasional big throw. Use your legs to gain first downs. I don't know what's going on with Taylor Heineke. I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's Scott Turner. But I feel like Taylor Heineke should use his legs far more than he is. I'm going to assume it's Scott Turner telling him not to, because we've seen Taylor Heineke want to run, especially that first season going against the Buccaneers in the playoffs, that wild card game where we barely tripped and fell into the playoffs, accidentally slipped into the playoffs. But he wanted to run back then all the time. I don't know why Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, somebody is telling him not to run right now. I don't know if it's himself because he doesn't want Carson Wentz to get an opportunity to come back and start for the rest of the season. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like Taylor Heineke has the ability to run, and we need to use that, because there are times where where it's wide open. No QB spot, no linebacker there. You can easily pick up a third down with your legs for like 5-7 yards. But going back to Anthony Richardson, he can do that, but way better. I feel like Anthony Richardson may even be a little bit faster than Josh Allen, but just as tough, can break tackles, all of that type of stuff. So at the very least, just like how the Titans were, trying to string Malik Willis along and just running heavy with Derrick Henry and then asking him to barely throw but use his legs if he needs to, I feel like you can run that exact thing with Anthony Richardson with how great this run game has been lately. Not very efficient per carry wise, but they've been very imposing. And with how elite this defense has been, if you just insert Anthony Richardson into this right now, I'm confident in us making the playoffs and maybe even winning a playoff game. He's extremely raw. Again, just a note, he's extremely raw. You can argue he's probably the rawest quarterback here in this draft class, but at the same time, with the way that this team's set up, just to add to it, this receiver core is arguably elite. So one way to help an inaccurate, inconsistent, not a consistent decision-making quarterback out is to give him receivers that are always open so the throws are always easy. He doesn't have to throw it in the tight windows, even though he has the potential to. If you look at Anthony Richardson's best plays from this season, only his best ones, you would think he was at the very least a top 3 quarterback in this class up there with Bryce Young. Easily. You could argue he's the best if you're only looking at the positives. But the positives are so far and few in between. The negatives are so prevalent and so consistent, I can see why people are hesitant to draft him. And that may be the reason he makes it to the second round or makes it to the final pick of the first round and we can trade up and get him again like the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. But please get a quarterback in here. I know a lot of people are screaming for Sam Howell. I'm fairly high on Sam Howell, not as high as a lot of people are on him. But it just seems like this coaching staff, again, he's a 5th round pick. So it's not like moving on from him is just this super like, oh, we wasted a draft pick. We shouldn't even had the draft pick in the first place. We got it from trading back. But on top of that, I mean, if the coaching staff just doesn't seem like they necessarily believe in Sam Howell. Now, he is the backup to Taylor Heinicke instead of Carson Wentz, who may be healthy enough to be a backup right now. So that shows a little bit of faith in him, but I don't think if Anthony Richardson, after you take Joey Porter in the draft, if Anthony Richardson is in reach, whether it's second round or you're willing to trade up to get him, I can't see this franchise passing on him. He's too talented, and I already see the Giants keeping their eyes on him to basically just be a better Daniel Jones. So, hey, man, at the very least, take him so the Giants can't get him. And then moving on, 3rd round again, we sent that to the Colts for the Carson Wentz. Well, we will. Hopefully it won't become a second. I think it's mathematically impossible already, so I think we're in the clear. Moving to round 4, 97th overall, I have us taking interior offensive lineman Cooper Beebe, I think, Beebe, from Kansas State. And he's basically just a really tough and mean guard that fits exactly what Washington wants to do with running the ball. I already spoke about how much we want to run the ball, and he's basically just a people mover, man. You want to run the ball through his gap, it will be open. He's gonna have that open for you, and he can pass protect pretty well at times as well. He's just very inconsistent. He just has issues that need to be coached up. If we're talking about, he's pretty much kinda almost like an Anthony Richardson of guards. He's not the most freak athlete type of guy, but he's kind of up there. He's really strong, and when you only look at highlights with his run blocking snaps and his pass blocking snaps, if you only look at the positive stuff, you would assume he was going in the first round. But he's also another guy that's fairly inconsistent, but I think it's the type of inconsistencies that you can coach up, and I can see him end up being a really good guard for us. And I mean, with us struggling right now with Trey Turner not playing well, hurt, Sadiq Charles not playing very well, we have Samuel Cosmi in at right guard sometimes. Wes Schweitzer didn't even look good last week returning against the Giants after he missed a few weeks. I don't love Andrew Norwell. And so I love Wes Schweitzer still, and maybe that was just an off game for him, but I think drafting offensive line period is a priority, and I honestly would be surprised if they even wait to the 4th round to do it. But I think Cooper Beebe would be the type of guy that if he's there still in the 4th round, take that chance on him and groom him, because he has a crazy ceiling. And again, if you're only looking at highlights, he's like, you would be like, bro, he's got to be a top 20 pick at least. But very inconsistent. Coach him up, man. That's what our coaching staff is here to do. I know you don't always want to draft the rawest players doing it, but you pay these coaches millions of dollars to develop players more than anything else. Do that. And I feel like we've done a fairly good job with that recently with Derek Forrest and Benjamin St. Juste. Granted, that's the defensive side, but I feel like we've done well with that just overall as a franchise these past couple of years. And I feel like we can do the same thing with Cooper. I mean, because granted, Chris Paul hasn't played much. I don't even think he's been active for a single game this season. And he has somewhat of a relatively high ceiling, especially for a 7th round draft pick, but he's not Cooper Beebe. He's not him. Also, round 4, 119th overall. Moving on, we take linebacker Dayan Henley, I believe that's how you pronounce that. Dayan, I don't know, but once I found him and started watching highlights, I fell in love with him, from Washington State. And at Washington State, he's literally carrying the defense. He is the defense. He does everything for them. He's great in coverage. That's probably his best trait. If you want him to blitz, he can do that as well. He can cover tight ends, running backs, wide receivers even. And then he's not bad against the run. I think he has some improvement to do, but mentally he's there. And I just feel like if you can get him in the 4th round, that's a huge steal. I think a lot of people are sleeping on him. I don't know why. Maybe because he plays for Washington State and he's pretty much the only good player there. So a lot of things that look like his fault, it's probably somebody else's fault and he's just trying to cover for them. I think he's a really good player. You fit him in here. Him, Jamin Davis, and Cole Holcomb when healthy, great trio of linebackers. I'm perfectly happy with that. Now, granted, another reason I want to draft a linebacker in general, especially a guy like him that can cover, to me, just picture Cole Holcomb hurt, or maybe he leaves in free agency. I hope we retain him. I really do. But say Cole Holcomb's not playing, whether he's gone or he's hurt, like right now. Just imagine, like I said earlier, before we started the mock draft, imagine adding these players to our current team. Jamin Davis doing what he's doing, playing very well. If Dayan Henley was just to take over for John Bostic, this defense will go to another level right now, and I truly believe that. So I think as a rookie, after we draft him with some coaching, I think he could be a problem for people. And like I said, Jamin Davis is filling in very nicely. If we're able to keep Cole Holcomb, and then this guy with his great coverage, I mean, he would be our best coverage linebacker, but he's not a really small guy. He can run stop as well. I think this linebacker core would be super straight, and I think he would be a huge steal in the 4th round. Moving on, round 5, 153rd overall, I have us taking center Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. And to me, basically the best way to word it is that he's the Samuel Cosmi of centers. Freak athlete, one of the most athletic offensive lineman you'll ever see come through the NFL. I mean, it's that crazy. He's literally the Samuel Cosmi of centers. Fairly inconsistent, actually quite inconsistent, but the freak athleticism is obviously there. Another guy, theme of this whole mock draft is if you only look at their highlights, you swear he's a top 10 pick. At the very least, a 1st round pick, but I think we can honestly get him round 5 because he's just really inconsistent. But man, freak athlete. You know how Wisconsin does producing. Wisconsin is definitely one of those places you consider offensive line you, even kind of tight end you. They just produce angry, mean, just want to fight people, playing till after the whistle, still pancaking somebody, still driving somebody to the ground even after the whistle's blown type of guys. That's just the Wisconsin way, and he's one of the most athletic guys to ever come through that program, probably literally like ever. I mean, a 4.31 pro agility time and a 1.65 10-yard split would have been faster than any offensive lineman at the NFL Combine this past draft. He would have been the most athletic, at least the most agile offensive lineman coming out of this past draft if he would have been in this draft that already happened. I mean, the athleticism is crazy. He's really strong. He's really explosive. Coach him up. And the reason I have us taking him is because I love Chase Roullier, but it feels like every season for the past 3 years, he's missed an extended amount of time. I don't know if it's only been 2 years. It feels like it's been forever. It feels like almost every year since we've had him, he's missed an extended amount of time. And I'm sick of Nick Martin. I'm really afraid of Nick Martin having to start against the Giants. I like Tyler Larson, don't love him, but he keeps getting hurt as well. Wes Schweitzer keeps getting hurt. So we need to draft a certified center. They were hoping Keith Ishmael would have been that guy, but that didn't work out at all. And so Joe Tippmann's your guy, man. Again, the Samuel Cosmi of centers. Take your chance on him, especially if he's there in the 5th round. You got to. There's no reason not to. He would arguably be the most athletic player available in the 5th round, probably arguably out of this entire draft, regardless of position. I can't wait to see his RAS score because I'm telling you, he's going to test crazy. And then round 7, again, we have 3 7th-round picks. The first one, 193rd overall, I have us taking outside linebacker Sael, I believe, Sav Smalls from Washington. Ex-5-star recruit, all of the athleticism in the world, all of the talent in the world, all of the potential in the world. Again, a common theme for this mock draft, and he just needs to be coached, man. He's the perfect Sam linebacker for Washington, and I feel like following this mock draft, you have Jamin Davis, hopefully Cole Holcomb's still here, even if he's not. You have Dayan Henley that you drafted earlier, and then you have Sav Smalls, and he's a guy that can rush the passer off the edge if you need him to. He can cover fairly well. He's pretty good against the run already. He has a lot of instincts, things that he needs to work on, a lot of rawness to his game, but he's not a 5-star recruit for no reason, man. The talent is there. You just got to coach him up and get him right. And again, if we keep Cole Holcomb, if Jamin Davis continues to progress the way that he is already and playing well, and you draft Deion Henley in the 4th round, you draft him, there's no pressure for him to play immediately, but you could argue he's probably the most talented guy out of our linebacker group, including Deion Henley, Jamin Davis, and Cole Holcomb. The ceiling is that high. Just bring him in, let him take his time, and watch him go crazy, man. Because again, in situational, like a pass rush, Montez Sweat, Chase Young on the edge. Maybe you send him as a Sam linebacker further out in the edge, like a wide 9 type of thing, and watch him go get the quarterback and make a play. I mean, if there is anybody in this draft class that you kind of could say maybe he has some Micah Parsons to him a little bit, I'm not comparing him to Micah Parsons at all, but I feel like he can fill that same role where he can play some linebacker and rush off the edge. He's that much of a freak athlete. I mean, he was more recruited coming out of high school than Micah Parsons was. Again, the talent is there. He just hasn't been able to put it together in college, but you can see flashes here and there. I think we get a hold of him. We can get something serious going with him, man. He may not be ready to make a serious impact his rookie season, but I think you wait on him a little bit, he'll produce. I mean, Benjamin St. Juste just exploded onto the scene his 2nd season. Derek Forrest did the same thing. Why not Savell Smalls? Granted, he's not a DB like those guys, but who knows, man? And then our next 7th round pick, 214th overall, I have us taking cornerback Starling Thomas out of UAB. I would love for Washington to get a solidified, certified cornerstone slot corner right now. Love what Benjamin St. Juste doing on the outside, even though he's hurt. Kendall Fuller, what he's doing, being versatile, but mostly on the outside. And I loved how Danny Johnson stepped in big time for Christian Holmes, but I would love a certified slot corner. And Bobby McCain's been doing all right in the slot. He's been doing fairly well, but I would love like a certified, oh yeah, this is our true starter in the slot. Every time we need him, he's ready. And that could be Starling Thomas, man. He's 6 foot tall, even, flat, 195 pounds, and is going to run somewhere around a 4.3. I mean, I feel like at the very least with some coaching, he could be a star, but at the very, very least, he could be a dynamic punt returner for us. So I feel like at the very least you're getting a potential great punt returner with us with a lot of speed and quickness and change of direction skills, but he has the potential to be a really good slot corner at the next level. I mean, even on tape, he plays fairly good coverage. Now, granted, not as high of a level of competition, but the talent is there if you go look at the tape and look at the highlights, man. I like Starling Thomas a lot. If he was available in the 7th round, I'm sprinting to go get him. And then with the final pick of the draft, our 3rd 7th round pick, 235th overall, I was taking wide receiver A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. And plain and simple, he's just a faster Cam Sims. Same height, 6'5" and everything, but Cam Sims ran a 4.6. This guy's gonna run somewhere in the 4.4s. Just crazy athlete. If you're trying to recreate what Green Bay is doing with Christian Watson, here's a more raw version in A.T. Perry. He probably won't even make it to the 7th round after the combine. We'll see, but I'm really excited about him. Again, this organization just doesn't seem to really like Cam Sims. I mean, they've given him 1 forced target like over the course of like the past couple of games. They gave him, I think he has like 5 targets this season and like 1 run out of the backfield, something like that. So they're trying to get him activated, but things just never work out. Now, some of the plays weren't his fault. And then I think this recent game against the Giants, Taylor Heineke just threw an effort bomb to him for like a 1st down. And granted, the throw was late and it was a very contested throw with the corner having good coverage on him. But I feel like if he would have came back and attacked the ball, maybe he would have caught it. And maybe that leads to us winning the game. It was sometime late in the game, either late in the 4th quarter or overtime, where he like had an opportunity to make a play, but he didn't. And maybe they get to a point where they're like, this Cam Sims thing isn't working. We're not the ones that drafted him. We keep him around. And I like Cam Sims. I really want him to work out. I love his personality and everything, but I could easily see them in the 7th round, at least bringing in some competition for him to light a fire under his belly or something, man. Bring in A.T. Perry, who's basically literally a faster Cam Sims, maybe even slightly less raw coming out of Wake Forest when Cam Sims is coming out of Alabama. So again, I'm not exactly sure if A.T. Perry will make it to that final 7th round pick, but if he does, you got to take a chance on him. I mean, this receiving core is very elite, but it would be nice to have a really dynamic Christian Watson almost like type of guy, to 6'5" red zone threat. And so I wanted to take a tight end in this draft, but I feel like Cole Turner, Armani Rogers, all of these guys, when healthy, have so much potential. We'll see. Again, maybe another mock draft, I'll include tight end depending on how they look. We still got a few more games to go. If Cole Turner looks like a complete bust, now granted, it's only his rookie season, and he's been hurt for more than half of it, but if he looks like the way he does now, by the time this season ends, then maybe I'll mock draft a tight end to us in my next mock draft. But as of right now, I think the Commanders are very high on the tight end group. I know I am. I love the potential. I mean, remember, I can't even remember his name right now, but 6'8" guy that was balling out in training camp. I mean, they like that potential as well, but he also got hurt. So, and you never know, man. Samus Reyes may even still be out there. So I think they're pretty straight on the tight end position. I don't see them taking one in this upcoming draft, but who knows what happens. We'll see, especially if Logan Thomas can't stay healthy or continues to get penalties like he did against the Giants, even though one of them was a phantom penalty that the refs just made up out of nowhere. He didn't deserve that, but the first one, that false start, literally kind of killed the drive. But that's the end of this mock draft. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with some of the players that I took. Put your mock drafts in the chat as well. I love looking at y'all mock drafts. I love looking at y'all descriptions too as to why you drafted this guy, this guy's weaknesses and strengths. Because again, I haven't watched everybody yet, so you may put me on to some people, especially some later round draft picks like round 4 and beyond. So definitely get in the comment section. Let me see your mock drafts as well. And again, let me know how you feel about mine. And of course, man, please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. And of course, I appreciate all of my support. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors. Name you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.